they finished 20th, 0 5-stars. They don't get a top quality quarterback when they have a kid in their backyard in Julian Sayin who decided to go to Alabama. Sounds kind of familiar with Bryce Young, right?
Right.
The top 5 kids in the state of California picked Texas, Oregon, Alabama, and Notre Dame. Lincoln Riley got his ass kicked. And last cycle, I said this, and USC fans got so freaking upset when I said it, that their class was underwhelming.
Remember. We were doing the show by then. I remember this vividly.
It's a goddamn joke. And they all these USC fans on Twitter, when you say this, jump in and say, oh, we're a portal team. What kids have you brought in the portal? And half of them, all the kids that you recruited last cycle, the top players that were supposed to stick around and be bright spots for the future, just entered the portal. Mm-hmm. This is a problem at USC.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Admit that there is a problem. They are not going to be as competitive as you think that they're going to be heading into the Big Ten. This is an 8-win caliber roster. They're incredibly overrated.
Well, USC fans got mad at me when we talked about them on Monday, saying that we don't know, we didn't do our research, we didn't know what we were talking about, even though we literally showed them.
Wait, they all say that same fucking line. You didn't do your research, you don't know what you're talking about, but you didn't do your research either. You read a couple of articles and you're like, oh, these rankings don't matter. These rankings aren't a big – oh, you think that the coaches in college use the 247 rankings? Of course fucking not. But it still is a pretty good indicator of what players are good or not. Jesus Christ.
Well, first off, you do know coaches do use the rankings to see where players are out. Like, I mean –
they read the message boards too.
Right. I mean – we were in a text thread where I showed you an SEC coach literally, like, I'm not talking about like a coach that nobody would know. I'm talking about like everybody would know. And he literally texted me, I'm pretty sure showed you that he's like, yeah, I have like 2 burner accounts on 247. I have a burner account on On3, and I'm like, wait, what? And it's so,
yeah.
Let me just say this. You cannot be the head coach at USC and let this happen. At UCLA, all right. You don't get a lot of the top 10 guys. Okay. You need to get one of them, maybe 2. If you don't, all right. Okay. Oregon, Alabama, okay, Texas and Notre Dame went in and plucked top 10 dudes out of the state of California, mostly Oregon, okay? Then you got Alabama again going in there and taking the best quarterback from the state. He did it in Bryce Young. He's doing it with Julian Sayin. It's a problem. Like, Joe, they're not recruiting well enough along the offense and defensive line. Sure, he's bringing in good skill players. Okay, sounds cute. But if you build a cake, okay, like if you bake a cake, all right, you got to build the foundation before you put on the icing. Receivers, elite receivers, they're really good icing to the cake that you build. You got to build from the ball out. And they are not doing that. They are not building from the ball out. It is these flashy play, skill guys. If Lincoln does not pick it up and start recruiting better along the offense and defensive lines, he's going to get his ass whooped. Because here's the truth. Now, Joe, we'll talk about this in our picks in just a minute, okay? We have 2 teams that I'm just going to round up for Texas, so they're 96, so it doesn't matter. You have 2 teams that are in triple digits almost in passing yards allowed on the season. Your secondary can be ass and you make the playoff, especially with it expanding to 12 teams. What you cannot be ass in, and you have to have a front 7 and lines of scrimmage to win. By the way, you're going into the Big Ten now, all right? Those teams are recruiting at a high level on the lines of scrimmage and will kick your ass. And I'm going to tell you something else. You're going to say I'm wrong. It's okay. Are you at that? Stay with me. Iowa actually does that to some extent. right? Meaning that they recruit and develop at a pretty high level considering the dudes that they're bringing in and recruiting. Are you 1,000% sure after what you saw Iowa do to Michigan defensive or what they did in the Big Ten title game? Are you sure that like an Iowa can't give a USC a game? Like we're going to have to have a debate next year if those two teams play, if it even happens. Hey, brother, are you 1,000% sure that Iowa is going to lose that football game?
I mean, if Will Howard's the quarterback, I'm not really afraid of USC beating Iowa. No. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. Bet online, where the game starts.